9. Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the Alien Probe Podcast. It's Saturday, January 7th, 2022. I'm Doug, and joined by me today is Dr. Bill, taking a 2-week sabbatical. How you doing, Bill? How you feeling? You did some tech support for me. It didn't look too good.
Oh yeah, I had a cold, which was actually
Over that, right?
worse than COVID. How could that be? How could a cold be worse than COVID? Okay, so what you need to do if our as an experiment coming up, is in the description for the video, you need to put in some keywords. You need to put in warming, Area 51, JFK, and something else.
Luis Elizondo.
No, I think that's it. To see how many banners they could put in warning. Oh, and flat Earth. To see see if UFO. To see if
get denied.
To see
Google
see if YouTube will put in banners saying, from all these different Wikipedia, Encyclopedia Britannica about all these topics.
I would be happy if they would put in the banner instead of just completely denying everything that I tried. Yeah, it's oh, I see. Yeah, they'll put warnings in there. Have they been putting banners on? I haven't looked.
I haven't seen any
banners. Joe Rogan's got some. I listened to Rogan last week, and he's
got banners.
COVID-19 is a serious problem. You need to do. I'm like, why is that banner there?
Yeah, I just had.
They must have made fun of COVID.
I had COVID a few months ago. It was nothing for 2 days. It was like I think the emotional impact was going, I tested positive for COVID was worse than the disease. Yeah. And then I've had a cold for a week that has been like 10 times worse than COVID. And he goes, oh, it's because you've been vaccinated. Well, the vaccine was supposed to only last for a year. According to the medical reports, it's like there's no vaccine left. Oops. I'm messing with...
Don't play with that.
I'm playing with my iPad. I was looking at... we're going to talk about this book. And I don't know what I just did.
Oh, wait, did you want to talk about Travis Taylor's? You were going to talk... You did a little dissertation about justifying how Travis Taylor is legit.
Yes, I have a rant that I wrote about in defense of Travis Taylor that was on my computer, my laptop, which needed to be sent off to be repaired. No, I got it. I got it back. They fixed my laptop, and I thought I'd gotten everything off of it, but I hadn't gotten that off of it. So I do have it here. We can talk about that. I think
you should, because it's kind of interesting, because one of the segments we hopefully will hit today, and if we don't, later, but he wasn't, did you notice on that Skinwalker 4, and for everybody, it's not the regular Skinwalker Ranch, it's kind of a backdoor
so it's
thing about Skinwalker.
It's the basement office from the New York Post, and it's titled Skinwalker Ranch, New Evidence of Paranormal Activity, UFO Ghosts, Part 4. And the guy's name is Greenfield?
Greenwald or something.
Greenwald.
Anyway, the reason I brought that up is that Travis didn't want to participate in that.
And
did you notice?
Yeah. That reminded me
obviously he wasn't in it, but he actively would not. At the end, they wouldn't.
Well, he doesn't have to.
Why be there?
Why should he? The guy's just going to hammer him about stuff. I don't know. I think he should have talked to him. I don't think it would have hurt. I think it would have been fine.
Even Stephen Greenstreet, by the way.
Stephen Greenstreet. All right.
So hopefully we'll get to that, but I want to start with before Roswell. It's something that involved the Trinity, and it kind of started with the Trinity nuclear test blast in New Mexico, right? At Socorro.
Yes.
And a couple of kids the one kid had his farm, and I didn't realize that we talked about this before, that they were at only 15 miles and within sight of ground zero of the nuclear test. I until this came up, and I watched it. And you did read about that part of it, though, right? And what you're looking at, because
Yes.
the blast comes through the valley. I mean, it literally came, and they were protected somewhat, but they came into these guys. There was Remy and Jose Padilla. They were kids. I don't know if they said, but Trinity was at 7/16/45, so July 16th, 1945, at 4:51 a.m. He knew, because he used to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and feed the animals and go see Dad off to work. And the nuclear blast hits, and it jacked them up. I mean, they had a black lab or something. It was Black Shepherd, I think. And it turned it like he turned the shepherd like yellow.
Oh,
Turned into
yeah.
Black Shepherd,
It
changed the
bleached.
color of his coat,
It bleached the
and
dog.
it
Yeah.
made did something with the eyes.
Was
And
it his mother or
you know,
grandmother was peeking out, and it permanently blinded her in one eye? She's peeking
yeah.
out through the cracks in the house or
So
something.
this is in 45, because there's a little timeline going on that we'll discuss. So in 45, so then they have this. A couple weeks later, they have a town meeting, and the military comes in, and they let them know that it was not to worry. It was just an ammo bunker that had blown up. They gave him the story about it was nothing. Don't worry about it. So years to come, people are dying of cancer. He's at Jose's teeth are falling out. He got one lung removed because it got cancer in it.
This is
Remy, it ended up. Go ahead.
yeah. This is in that interview, that video you were.
Yeah.
I didn't even see.
No. Yeah. Yeah.
Because
So
I haven't seen that. I have the book Trinity by Jacques Vallée, but I've only 60% of the way through. And
so
oh yeah, I just wanted to make sure.
yeah, and I didn't realize. See, we talked about the incident only from the wreck. So anyway, moving forward 2 weeks late to August 16th, 1945 is when the crash. They actually witnessed Remy and Jose. As I've got to think they were in like fourth, fifth grade, something like that.
They were like 10 and 6. They were little
Yeah,
guys.
so that
They
would
were
make
real
sense.
little guys.
And they were looking for a lost.
One of the cows was
goat.
calving. They're trying to find
Yeah.
the cow who was calving or
Right.
had given a calf, and they wanted to round it up.
So they see this spacecraft. It was out of control, they said, and it hit a tower and then skidded and crashed onto Jose's dad's property.
The space avocado.
So they went over.
The space
The
avocado.
space avocado. Yeah, there was pretty good illustration. And so the side's torn out of these things. And he says there's 3 of these beans that look like, he says they would look like fire ants that could stand up. That was his description of them. But they were green and with the big eyes, and they were crying, like making crying sounds. They said like a rabbit when you shoot it, it's not literally dead.
He
said squealing.
He said they were green.
Yeah,
green like the
green or gray or something.
They look like
that.
this guy.
Not that green. They were kind of gray. He said, but he says the gray was a uniform that was skin tight. So it was. We don't know if that's the skin color or if that was the uniform color of these little things, but they were wandering back and forth, crying. It's like they were confused, and they were spilling out of the ship. And then, so one of them Jose wanted to help them, but Remy was crying, and he said, "I'm not going down there."
Yeah,
we're not going to go.
Little guy's terrified by what he's seeing. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what even at that age, fifth, we knew each other in the 5th grade. I don't know if we would have.
That's
if something like that would have happened.
10 and
witness.
6.
Yeah, in the 5th grade. Where were we in the 5th grade? Yeah, so
was that 10?
I don't know. We would have been curious. We would at least sat there for a minute and watched it. Probably tried to report it or something. I don't know. But the whole. So anyway. Time goes by. They go every day. Did you realize that they would go back every day? And the military, of course, showed up.
And they were watching the military GIs.
Yeah, they would leave every day to go to the bar and watch the girls. at their in their town. So when they would go to watch the girls, then they'd go down to the ship. The beans had already been scooped up, but they went inside the ship, and then they got this piece of metal. Did you see the piece of metal in the video? That's earthly. That's a piece of the tower.
Yeah, they were saying the analysis of that in the book is they were saying the closest thing they think it might have been a piece from a windmill or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that whatever tower. Well, someone flew over in a because there's an air base nearby. So another part of that is a pilot flew over low enough to see that he said that there was some Indians by. He described the kids as being Indians.
Yeah, Indian kids.
He goes, yeah, there's a couple of Indians. There's a crash. I don't know if there's a crash something, and there's a couple of Indian
kids. Yeah, that's what he called them.
You know, so he saw it. This pilot saw it and reported into the tower. And so it goes back and forth, but it's weird because and then they end up going in and grabbing that piece of metal, but thinking that it was part of the ship because they were able to pry it out with, a bar, one of those trucking bars that they used to tie down.
Probably breaker bar, which you use to crank down the chains to tie down cargo.
They pried it out of there, but really the thing was that piece was kind of worthless. It's a piece of broken tower. But the pilot said the tower looked like something had hit it. He goes, it was bent over at the top. So the pilot corroborated the story of what had hit it, and this is, I put this in one of the more believable, because she was interviewing Jose. I don't know if he's still alive today, but at that time, I don't think this is too old. So, she interviewed him, and he said, that, his description was, and he was a highway patrol. He had ended up ultimately going into their local, I don't know if he's a highway patrol. He was in law enforcement.
Yeah.
And, just not a guy, and after all these years, still maintained that this exact story. And they went on site and looked to see that it was a big round area and where nothing will grow. And he says, yeah, that's where it skidded, and here's where it came to a stop.
Now, there's something weird in the book. They're describing the area. There's a couple things, and
yes, I know what you're going to say.
Yeah, the area had been graded, and and some sort of toxic plant had been planted at some point. Now it looks like the plant has been cleared up, but there's part of the area had been graded to create a pond area, a dam area to control water flow or something.
Right. So, and that's the thing. They had those weird plants there, but the plants probably died because he said there was a fire when it crashed. There actually was there was smoke. I don't know if there's an active fire, but there was smoke coming from the ship.
In the book, when Vallée went there, he was saying that it looked like this plant was an unusual plant to be in the area because it's also toxic to cattle. And he thinks that Vallée speculated that the plant was planted to prevent people from coming over there and digging the area up.
Well, the kids saw they had some wacky, we were all in the military, and they had some probably privates there, and they were picking up the pieces, and they said they were too lazy, and there was a crevasse of some kind, and they ended up ditching some of the larger pieces of the craft that was laying around, and they just put it in this hole.
And that,
so according to
Vallée, when the area was graded, that ravine or whatever it was where they were throwing stuff, it's under like 10 feet of soil now because it came through. The area had been graded. They created some sort of berm. They had planted, he speculated they had planted this plant to prevent people from going over there and digging things up. And in a newer video, it looks like the plants had been cleared out. So what that would suggest to me, if the plants are no longer there and you have a circular area, I would say that somebody went back in and dug through everything. After Vallée,
I would have to agree.
After Vallée had been there, and maybe even this book came out, somebody went in and did an extensive survey digging up that area to make sure that there's nothing left. But
Yeah, they
that's
mentioned that it wasn't their property anymore. It's like BLM property now, something like that. They don't own it, so you can't just
it's always
the,
been
the
BLM.
government. But they said that it was on. I thought they mentioned that it was his dad's property that it had crashed on in the
I
beginning.
don't remember the detail. It's always been BLM land, but I think some ranchers can lease tracts of land from the BLM
Okay,
for exclusive grazing of your cattle.
grazing,
Yeah.
whatever.
So his
Okay,
dad may have leased, that tract of land for grazing. Just and you lease it because you want it to be just for your cattle. You don't want other people to come in, and it's just to control you know the conflict between ranchers. So I don't
so
know.
they
I don't know, but I would say that maybe with that circular area where nothing was growing, I would say that somebody's come in there and excavated, because it's completely different from what Vali was saying when he visited it. The toxic plants are
yeah.
gone. The and if
Were the
that
plants there when Vali was there? I don't
Yeah, it was
remember
growing. He was saying these plants were growing right where the kids said everything had crashed, and it's a plant that's toxic to cattle, and it's ranchers hate this stuff because it just screws the animals up. And if you get
that.
it
Right.
on your hands and stuff, it causes a rash. They wanted to do some surveying while they were there, and this plant really hung them up because it was just all over the place. And he was saying what was weird was it wasn't growing anywhere else around there. And he was speculating that it had been planted on purpose to keep people from digging up the area. And now it's all gone, and there's a circular area where it's been all dug up or something. So
Yeah.
I'd say something happened, and somebody went in there and
Yeah.
did a
Dug it
survey.
up.
Yeah,
Dug up the pieces.
yeah, yeah.
Also, but yeah, it looked really graded and nice when they were walking him and that
It's
girl with that lady when
yeah,
they were walking along.
that
You know,
writer. They've
well, the tie-in,
yeah,
the tie-in, and Roswell. So anyway, speed forward 2 years now. Roswell, so they're around. Um, the sheriff. They went there with the sheriff and his dad. Actually, if we go back to the
yeah,
Socorro
yeah,
incident,
yeah. They went.
they went there with the sheriff and his dad.
Was
And the
that?
sheriff, he heard the sheriff mention that, yeah, these things are flying around,
I can't
you know?
remember if did his sheriff and his dad, were they able to go out there when the crash thing was still there, or was that after they pulled it out?
It was after they put it on the
Oh, so that when the sheriff and their dad went out there, it's
yeah,
all been cleaned up at that point.
it was cleared.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, it's, I don't know, maybe they were there because the thing didn't
I don't
get cleaned
remember.
up right away. They put it on a trailer. It was kind of funny because they were talking about how they loaded it up and they actually had to construct they pulled in the flatbed. They had to actually grade a road to get to it. They had to go through their property, make an opening in the fence. The military, got their permission to.
Oh
I mean,
yeah,
if they got
yeah,
their
because
permission,
they
they
needed
probably
it.
said, "This is what we're doing."
They had to ask permission because the people actually own the land, and they had to ask permission to cross their land.
Yeah,
And that was the easiest way to get to the crash site. So,
yeah,
um,
and they
and
graded a road
yeah, and
to
they widened the
the thing.
gate.
So they get there, and they were saying that they used a wooden A-frame to lift because the thing was 15 by 30. The
Hmm.
craft. That's a pretty big craft.
Yeah,
Um, not huge, but I mean, definitely liftable. I guess I don't know which weighed, but they used an A-frame. Like, did they have a crane? I mean, did they not have portable crane? I guess like now you have those
1945.
crane. Yeah, did they not have?
You
That's
can
when they
rig
had
a.
steam shovels.
They was just rigging it.
Steam shovel.
I'm sure
Yeah, I don't know.
there was a lot of ingenuity and stuff that was sort of brought to bear because of World War II. So they probably you
Yeah.
bring in a bunch of 4x12s or something
Well,
like that, and
yeah, big lumber.
yeah, when you can get big lumber like that, and I mean, an A-frame wouldn't be hard to rig up, and then you just use the truck to lift
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Use a
wouldn't.
block and tackle and just lift,
Yeah, well, yeah, and
lift it.
you hook the truck up, or the trucks that got winches on them. You just winch stuff up on it. They probably used to
Yeah.
doing like vehicle recovery, tank recovery. It's not any more complicated than recovering a tank
Yeah.
from somewhere, and probably easier.
Yeah, it just seemed odd to me that they use that method. I don't know, but that's
Well,
what he remembers.
now they would have a crane, but back then it's just
Yeah,
like, I mean, just yeah, we got to lift something, just grab some wood, get it done.
yeah, it's definitely. So they put this thing on the flatbed, then they sent it through. They said through, and they did it at midnight. He had the timings. He says everybody was asleep. He mentioned a couple of times. They did this while everybody was asleep, and I guess he knew, probably as a curious kid, because they went there every day and watched for this. They put this thing on. He goes, I don't know where they took it, but who knows if they
And
took it to.
they had to cant it because it had to get underneath the overpass.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
wherever they took it. Did you see that in that
bizarre.
article that the new Defense Authorization Act pushed back the date where they're supposed to search records from 1947 to 1945? And that was,
Did they?
yeah, and that was to encompass this crash. So the new act says that the military and government offices are supposed to search their records back to 1945 now, instead of just to 1947 to Roswell. Now they're supposed to search back to 1945, and that's to cover the Trinity crash.
Well, hopefully they'll find something.
I predict they're going to
There we go.
Not find anything. We can't find any records. We don't know where they are.
We won't put any money on that. Yeah,
they don't have any records. Anything. We don't know what's going on.
We just, sometimes stuff just gets thrown away.
Hey,
it's just we shredded it.
Which
is possible.
Some guy, I can't remember the details, but some guy got a bunch of Blue Book records from somewhere. I think out of a dumpster or something crazy. And it was just, they weren't classified stuff, but it was just like, it was Project Blue Book. And he was selling them. I don't know if he sold them or not. It was like selling them for like $20,000 for all these Blue Book records.
Not a bad thing.
But the official records were supposedly have been moved to the National Archives. And I haven't got to it, but in the Trinity book, Vallee talks about the Blue Book records, because he's actually been to Blue Book with Hynek and the guy that was there. Forgetting his name. Quintanilla. He went there with Hynek and Quintanilla to look at official records at one point. But I'll finish reading that book. I'm 60% of the way through. But yeah,
so the tie-in is obviously Roswell 2 years later now.
Mm-hmm.
We've got them falling out of the sky again.
And yeah,
who knows what the reason was that they went down in some sort of electrical storm. I don't know if that had something to do with it, but there was nuclear weapons at Roswell, we know.
Nuclear weapons, and then there was they're talking about the new radar sets and all that other stuff that were bringing down that was the speculation of one thing, was the radars, the high power radars were bringing down the UFOs in the area, which is the UFO crash at Aztec story, which is where they're talking about all these different crashes in that area in this very expensive and rare book.
Did you have a cover on that, Bill?
Yes, I have not ripped the cover off and thrown it in the garbage like somebody I know.
Stupid. How am I supposed to read it with that cover on it?
Where are you?
What's this alien doing on here?
Yeah, what's this cool alien drawing doing on the front of my book?
Alien drawing on my book.
What is this?
I don't need this plastic cover. I just tear it off like it's a birthday present.
Yeah, just open
Didn't
that
even
baby up.
carefully do it.
Hey, I've been reading you asked I sent you an ebook copy of what's that book, Magnolia by Vallee?
Magnolia or whatever it is. Yeah,
by Vallee. What is your?
I haven't read it yet.
You haven't read it yet? It's like been like 4 days. You should have been done. Right?
Yeah, I know. Well, I'm still reading. Identified Flying Objects by
Valley, you have a couple other books by Valley too, and I just picked up. He's written a lot. I didn't realize how much he'd written. And I don't have the Magonia book in my bibliography, but you have a couple other books written by him, and we do. We both have it. You have Dimensions, a case book of alien contact, and Confrontations, a scientist's search for alien contact, and then he's got a third book, which is this is like a trilogy, and I've just ordered that. I don't remember what the title was. And there's other. I just picked up the ebook for 2009. Came out just before the Trinity book. It's called Wonders in the Skies: Unexplained Area Objects from Antiquity to Modern Times, where Valley and this other guy Abeck are talking about UFO sightings and things in the sky that have been seen for, I guess, thousands of years. So I didn't realize how prolific UFOs in Space, Anatomy of Phenomena was one of his early books. UFO Enigma, Challenge to Science. And then the book after that is the Magonia book. Is like his first sort of triple series of books. And then
Is he still around?
Yeah, he's still alive. I just saw him. He's 80. I just read he's 80 something. He lives in Palo Alto. He's a entrepreneur and
Yeah.
and been
So it's
doing.
just a side gig, this UFO thing. What's he do?
He is he does investment. He's like a Silicon Valley guy.
Silicon Valley guy.
Silicon Valley guy. And he's been doing that. The computer guy is involved in the computer internet stuff. And he's always done the UFO stuff as a parallel to his other life. I just finished, I'm finishing up reading a book called Authors of the Impossible, the Paranormal and the Sacred by Jeffrey J. Kripal. And he has a chapter on Valley and his writing in his books, which I didn't realize how extensive his writing was, even though I had a few of his books. Just haven't gotten to them. But apparently the Magonia book is Valley summing up his sort of philosophy and observations in the late 60s. How did you hear about that? Was that from Corey?
The Valley book?
Yeah,
Or the
Magonia.
Magnolia?
Magonia.
Oh, it was in the middle of the night. They was on Ancient Aliens, and they were talking about it. And I'm like, I haven't heard of this.
Yeah,
Had you sent me that before?
No, I hadn't heard about it until I was reading this chapter in this book on Valley, where this guy is talking about him and his investigations of UFO and sort of the religious, philosophical implications of this stuff. It's a good book. They use words that I don't understand, like Gnostic and some other things. I have to keep looking up. They use these big words. But this guy is a professor of religion somewhere. And he's investigating, writing about the paranormal and UFO stuff and viewing it as what he's addressing is sort of the sacred component of being human, because we have, we have our component. We have the physical, we have the mental, and the spiritual. And we have been, you and I, because we basically grew up in the same bubble, little pod.
Yes.
We have been indoctrinated against organized religion our whole lives. And but humans, as part of our makeup and part of our consciousness, we have a necessity, I think, or a component that is a spiritual component. So you always look for, we are, I think, biologically programmed maybe to look, as this guy would say, to look for the sacred. So it's just part of being
ingrained. This is ingrained.
It's just part of it's just part of being human. There's the physical, the mental, and spiritual, which is something that stuck with me since I had a Mexican professor of economics, and he wasn't Mexican American, he was Mexican, and he he said that during one of the lectures in my first year of college, I think. And he said the humans have this component, these three components. So you will always look for a spiritual component. So if you don't have that, one of the things that we see in modern society is this obsession with politics. So people that if you don't have some sort of outlet, I mean, people always sort of embrace some sort of spiritual outlet. People will embrace politics, and that's for a lot of people in this country. Politics has become their religion, as we can see with the crazy. I mean, it's just. I mean, that's you look for an outlet to fulfill that spiritual component, and people use religion to fill that component. Religion. People do use religion to fill, but they use politics to fulfill that spiritual component, or belief in UFOs, or belief in flat Earth, or other things that people look for these things
They
to
latch on to something to believe in.
something to fulfill that need. You have to, and I'm not. He calls it the sacred, which I think is. I mean, I mean, I don't know how to clearly define it, but you need a spiritual. It's part of our being is this triumvirate where the physical, we have the mental, and then you have the spiritual. And the spiritual, you fill that spiritual void with whatever works for you. And
Well, this is we don't embrace this as though, we're just doing not much more than researching what's happening in the past and what's going on at present.
in my life, I would say that the spiritual component was filled up with being a scientist. So that was my spiritual component. I mean, it's like, there's the physical, the mental, and the spiritual component was science. And so that's basically what I'm still doing. But he has, so it's a search for the sacred, and I think that's true with a lot of scientists. They don't go into, you look at some of these older scientists and their writings, they're doing science, and they're doing this stuff not because of, they're doing it because they're interested in discovery. But a lot of the older scientists will say they're doing science and research because it's also a way to understand the universe, and if you want to understand the universe, to understand God. So everybody has something that they incorporate as a spiritual component. You just have to identify it. And with our current day and age, it's like obvious that this people are obsessed with politics and the crazy in the politics. It's fulfilling their religious, spiritual component of their lives. Otherwise, they wouldn't believe this stuff. It's like rabid doctrinism. You either believe our belief system, or you're a bad person. That is a religion. If you view something at that extreme level, it's no longer whatever, a belief system. It's a religion. If you break everything down into good and evil. Anyway,
all right. Now the religion corner.
Well, I mean, Vallée is looking at a lot of these guys like Vallée and stuff. They're looking for a larger dimension in the understanding of UFOs, other than sort of a mechanistic, basic scientific viewpoint. So they're embracing more wild ideas like interdimensional stuff. Time travel can be that, things like that. So it's like basically what this book, Authors of the Impossible, boils down to, I'm almost done with it, is, and it's a simple message, and the message is just have an open mind. And that's something that if a person doesn't have an open mind and is willing to ask questions, then they are following a doctrine, a religious doctrine. So,
as I go through this process that we're doing, and I'll ask people, do you believe in UFOs? I make Debbie crazy because we ask random people while we go to different places.
Random strangers.
And I'll ask them. Some people are just like, no. You know what I mean?
No, get away from me.
But most people will say, there's got to be something out there.
Oh yeah,
Even
yeah.
even though I'm not sure if it's from out there or if it was from out there and it's from here, or if they're from our future, or we're
Well,
just the exploration of what could be possible is what we're
well,
doing.
the when I talk about the spiritual and the sacred, it's just could be as simple as a belief in something greater than yourself.
Yeah.
So the universe is bigger than we think. There's more mysteries and things. This guy uses the word, he calls it this belief in the sacred. And I think it's just belief, it's having an open mind and believing that there's more to the universe than just, you know, the mechanics of physics and mathematics. So we don't understand everything. We will never understand everything. So not in our
Yeah.
lifetimes.
Not in our lifetime. It's just kind of funny where people just, I feel like these things are flying around above us. I've never seen one. Yeah, but it's, but when you ask for people that don't really care, it's interesting, the different viewpoints about UAPs and UFOs, where people will be, I don't really, I never really thought about it. Where I'm like, there's got to be something out there. I'm not rabid about it though, because I haven't seen one. It just seems to be all this evidence,
Yeah,
and
I
if
mean,
it's,
it's been exploring this literature, just starting to explore the UFO literature from the 50s and moving forward. It's like there's an extraordinary amount of evidence and an extraordinary amount of effort by the government to. We see that with Twitter, the extraordinary effort of the government to suppress people thinking freely about this stuff. So
yeah, it's amazing. They just keep quelching everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
They just, not everything, but they're, a lot, they just are trying to block it at every, and it's coming on fast and furious with them. And then I kind of feel like they're putting things out there. I know Galileo is a thing that Harvard is doing, but it's
Harvard.
in the back of my mind, I just feel like it's just something that they're doing to, try to show us that they're doing something, but they're just
Yeah,
like,
to
well, we're doing
squelch.
something to try to find it. And now NASA's involved. Well, now
Yeah.
we've got NASA. Like, NASA's probably always been involved, but they don't,
Well,
not on a public scale.
I have I don't know. The question is like, will they do what's always been done in the past? Is in a year or two, it'll come out. NASA will go, well, we've analyzed all this stuff. We haven't seen anything.
We have found
Yeah, we haven't
nothing.
found
When
anything.
we know they have.
And then
We've
they'll
seen
have,
other,
yeah. And then they'll have the Galileo come out. We've got 50 of these things out, and we've been doing it for 2 years. We're shutting the program down because no one's giving us any more money, and we haven't seen anything. Yeah.
We haven't seen, yeah, exactly. And that's the way I feel about, Elizondo also. I feel like, they're just feeding us little pieces and then pulling back and going, well, nothing's really happening.
Well,
can't really tell you anything.
They've sung their song, and they don't have any more tunes. They've only have so much to talk about, and then that's it. And Elizondo's done that. So he's just repeating what he's repeated in the past, and we've all seen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see. It's like the Roswell reports, which I will read eventually, that the Air Force came out with 2 300-page reports debunking Roswell. It's like 300 pages each. And then we have we still haven't gotten the UAP report that was supposed to be given to Congress last year. That still hasn't been released.
They treat us like children, like they'll forget about it if we.
I don't know. And then they'll just
get excited about it, and they'll forget about it.
There'll be another dozen UFO shows rehashing the same 10 or 12 UFO stories out of the thousands. Oh, I'm getting hopefully, fingers crossed. I found this book that supposedly has a decent write-up of the guy that was kidnapped in Brazil and forced to have sex with the hot blonde. So I've actually...
Wait a minute.
Yeah. I've ordered the book. It was published in 1969, called The Humanoids. And
wait, what year?
1969. 69. And I we'll see if I get it, because I ordered it from this like book warehouse in the UK, which is the same place that you ordered a book from, and they just sent you like some other random book instead of
Yeah,
the
they
right.
sent me another book. Yeah, all creatures. I don't know. They sent me something
Yeah,
about reading the creatures scat.
no, it was a ESP. It was a ESP dog book or
Oh,
something, which would
yeah,
make
it
a
was
great
some weird.
show.
Like,
But
oh,
it, but it's that company, so I've ordered it from them, and it's a good price. But we'll see what they send me, because it's like it might just be some sort of randomly selected book.
so we
But
don't have that here. I mean, we don't have a copy in the States, or
this was the
what's that?
cheapest one I could find. Some Pilgrim, the most expensive one I saw, Some Pilgrim was asking $250 for this, and usually they're selling for like 40, $50 or something, and the one in England was $1. So shipping was $8, so I ordered it. And I'm like, oh, it was $10 total. So it's like, oh,
Okay.
$10, but I'm not going to pay some Pilgrim, $100 or $50 for a little 40, 50-year-old paperback. So we'll see.
I
But
mean,
it's
we'll talk
supposedly
about it in much greater detail. But what is he? So he got kidnapped, and
he's
he
the
had
guy in
sex with.
Brazil. Yeah, he got kidnapped, and then a blonde hottie forced him to have sex on the spaceship. And supposedly this book has the best write-up of it, because he talked about he sketched out some sort of writing that was in the ship, and he tried to steal a dial, but they kicked him off the ship before he could pry the dial loose or something. I don't know 100% if I'm sure, but I think this is the best write-up of that event that's out there. So we'll see. We'll see if I can get it. So
I've heard the story, but
it's a
I thought it
great
was one of those.
it's a great
I
story.
never really considered it to be one of those things that we would, just sounded
Kind of
like some.
blonde
Now,
hottie, blonde hottie.
is it gonna have diagrams and things on it, or
Yes,
is it gonna
they'll be
be?
showing exactly what he did. Now,
Oh my God,
supposedly he did
I
a
want to know
sketch.
what he did.
He saw some writing on over one of the doorways, and so in this book, he supposedly has sketched out what he saw in the writing that he saw on the doorway and stuff, which is
Is this
what.
guy still alive? Is he
No,
still alive?
this is 50 years ago. But after this happened,
Okay.
apparently this book collected together some of these stories about people's abductions, and this is this is one of my favorite I want this abduction to happen to me. The one of my favorite abductions, because it's like he's a
My favorite.
favorite
It's a
abduction.
little bit different than Betty and Barney Hill, that's for sure.
Absolutely, yeah. So we'll cover that if I get the book, because this is the company that sent you that book,
Yeah.
that
Yeah, they
random
owes
book.
me.
Yeah.
Still
Oh, we
got
don't
that
have the
book
book.
somewhere.
We'll just send him this one here.
We
So
were gonna do a show about it. I think that Deb and I were gonna do a show about it. I'll have to dig it up. It
the
really wasn't that
ESP.
horrible, but it wasn't what I wanted it. Yeah, it's all
Yeah, the ESP.
Animal ESP or something.
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah, I
good.
remember now.
Should do that. It'd be interesting. Are we going to talk
But
about the Stephen Greenstreet Skinwalker Ranch,
yeah,
New York Post basement office? I got a lot of notes on this. I got 5 pages
I
of
do.
notes.
I do also. So they started out with Steven arriving at
So
Frugal and Skinwalker.
well, let's do this. We can pick it up next time, and if we don't
Okay.
finish this, we'll start on this, and then next time too, I can read my rant, my in defense
I
of
think
Travis Taylor.
you can't say
Travis
Taylor like that.
Taylor, in defense of Travis Taylor.
We have a listener that likes to hear you say it like
Travis
that.
Taylor. Yeah, I can
Travis
read
Taylor,
it.
instead of-
I can
instead of
read.
noise.
I can read my defense in the voice of Travis Taylor. In
But
defense
I
of
will
Travis
just admit-
Taylor by Dr. Bill.
I will just remember the ball. Remember the little light. We'll talk about the whole thing. Because you're mentioning Travis Taylor.
Yeah, Travis Taylor.
They put in there about how he saw the little light that was an orb going through the forest.
Yeah.
And then they were doing this segment and they're talking about it's probably just a spider on a spider web that's being illuminated by the light.
Yeah, they didn't present a lot of good evidence to this guy. So what do we got? Oh, he had a quote. The basement office, the guy does a good job. I hate his haircut though. Steven, fix your hair.
Yeah, They're
Fix the
all
hair.
Mormon, including him. I mean, they're all that should.
My impression
you
is
know.
he's a Jack Mormon at this point. So he's no longer participating in the church. So, and he lives in New York City. So I have a feeling he's a Jack Mormon, but that did open doors for him because he does know the lore, and he is one with the
Yeah.
body with the Mormon Church. So they started the show with a quote by Albert Einstein: "There are only two ways to live your life. One is through nothing is a miracle. The other is as though everything is a miracle." And that sort of goes back to the thing where I was talking about the component, the sacred, the spiritual component.
Yeah.
So I mean, even Einstein embraced the spiritual component. And the fact that all these people involved in this thing are Mormon means that they're open to I think they've just, except for Stephen Greenstreet, they are more open to the impossible, maybe the unusual. They're more open to the idea that this stuff could be happening. So
Yeah, but they didn't see any. I mean, the big deal about it is they didn't see anything. They didn't see a dino. They admit, hey, we didn't see any of this stuff.
yeah.
Any dino beavers or any wolves that were shot and can't be killed or hurt.
Yeah, that was.
Or any monster spiders or
Well,
it's fun.
One of the speculations from that is, and I've seen that elsewhere and also in that book that I was just reading, is that some people are sort of attuned to see this stuff. It's like that scientist from the Pentagon that said he saw the tubular bell thing in the kitchen, although the people from the ranch were saying it was in the living room, the foyer area.
Yeah.
So let's see.
And they said that other things happened in the foyer, like a grid thing would open up. this grid.
Yeah, they're saying that they
would open up and
people had feelings and stuff. Let me got my Brandon Fugel acquired Skinwalker as religious and spiritual journey. Believer experiences in the Travis Taylor Green Street is full of crap. What the hell am I talking about? That was on Twitter. He's Travis, buddy, listen to me, pal. Rule number 1: do not respond to people on Twitter when they criticize you. Just stop. Ignore it.
Don't do it, Travis.
And before we get too deep in this, we're critical of you. We believe in you. We support you. And it's okay not to talk to people. Just keep doing your job. You're doing okay. We'll get more into that when I read your defense. The defense of Travis Taylor.
Defense of Travis Taylor.
Travis Taylor. But buddy, do not respond on Twitter. Just stop. Don't do it. Put it down. Travis Taylor, Green Street is full of crap. Didn't want Green Street at the ranch.
Nope.
That's fine. I mean, he's a right.
And then wouldn't participate.
Yeah, you don't have to. I mean, if you're somebody that a reporter wants to interview, and you know that the reporter is either going to be, I think Travis Taylor is trying to avoid a hit piece. So it's like a reporter,
hostile environment,
hostile interview, and the guy's just out to hammer you and make you look stupid. So it's like, if you think the reporter is going to do that, just don't talk to him. It's a lose-lose situation. I don't know anybody who's good at that. I'm trying to think of a interview with a hostile reporter. Oh yeah, I can think of a couple politicians that are good at that. But we won't mention the Trump name because then you won't be able to monetize this thing. And I do want to add,
there's another one that they won't monetize.
I do want to add to this podcast. I want to add Area 51, JFK assassination, climate change, and flat Earth, just so the algorithm can catch those words out of the show.
Yes, and that'll be it for Yeah, another one that won't be
There you
able
go.
to be.
There you go.
Okay,
Warming.
well, that's okay. At
Warming.
least we're doing
Well,
this as a hobby and not for money.
COVID-19. There. So we're going to hit
COVID-19.
we're going to hit all the high points. And
You already
vaccine.
dirted COVID. Yeah, you already
Vaccine.
dirted COVID-19. Booster.
Booster.
COVID-19 booster.
Vaccine. So anyway,
Have you had your booster shots?
I've done the initial 2. I won't do any more. I've
That's
had
it?
it. I got COVID, so it's like my immune system was boosted by catching it. So I don't need a booster. Why should I need a booster? Natural
Yeah.
immunity is far superior to a vaccine. And that used to
Yeah.
be the science before COVID. Before COVID, the science was if you had the disease, you don't need to be inoculated because the natural disease will inoculate you more than a
Antibodies or
vaccine. But then all of
Yeah.
a sudden that science went away and apparently wasn't true anymore. And I don't know why. I can't figure out what happened to it to do this. So apparently natural immunity was no longer a thing. So welcome to New America.
So much
So
for this episode after that
so much for
statement.
this episode. JFK was assassinated by the CIA. Just to throw that
We
out
can't
there.
have an opinion. We're not allowed to have an opinion.
No opinions. Disinformation. We are. This is your This is your disinformation network.
I've already
Travis,
been looked like by the government this week, so it's all right. Yeah.
I think they're investigating that other guy that's involved in the Middle East with your name.
I
Not
hope
you.
so.
Yeah, you'll find out.
I'll find out soon enough.
Really find out. If you disappear,
Two guys in trench coats
if you
at my
disappear,
front door.
yeah, if you disappear, I don't know you. I didn't
Yeah.
know. I never knew this guy. I don't know why you think I knew him. I
You
don't
better
know.
find out. You better find a way to take down all these 200 episodes.
Google will do
I
that
don't
for you
know.
once you Google will do it for you once you disappear after 6 months.
He erased me.
Yeah.
I'll get erased.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know. I never knew any guy by that name. So all these guys, so they're going through. Oh yeah, what'd you think of the security guy? Was his what do they call it? He was his mentor when he did
Dragon.
his Dragon did
Yeah,
his
he was he was Dragon was his father. No, what do we call it? What do you refer to
father.
him as?
I have
his
the
master,
his master.
mentor or whatever.
His mentor when he did his
Yeah.
what do they call it? His
Mormon
missionary
missionary stuff in Hawaii.
In
They did
Hawaii.
well, they had the best assignment. I usually hear them like in some third world country. They got Hawaii.
Yeah,
Or,
I mean,
New Jersey.
the few people I've talked to that have done the missions, usually they're the benefit is that you go to some country and you learn the language and the culture. So I think there's a big benefit for people doing these missions.
I think it's a good thing. It's just
Hawaii is a definite win. If
Hawaii's
you
a good assignment.
Great.
Make some calls. Go surfing.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
Well,
Got to learn. We have to learn the language and the people. So we got to do what they do.
yeah. So
Walk around in flip flops.
I'm sure there was a lot of that. So he had so Brandon Fugel distanced himself from Bigelow's claims in this show.
Yes.
The only thing that they really claim was something they've experienced is the hitchhiker effect, and that was the illnesses and injuries at the ranch.
Yeah.
And we've seen that with the show. That one guy had that weird head injury.
Yeah, the bump.
Yeah, that was scary.
And he said they couldn't diagnose. I didn't think it was that bad during the show. They kind of went into the emergency room and kind of got out, and they said now they're saying that he had some sort of weird disease thing that they couldn't diagnose.
Yeah, they don't know what it is.
Just a bump on his skull.
Yeah. So they've had several people have had health issues there, which is interesting. The ranch house, and now Green Street was pointing out that they had the location for the Lakatsky tubular bells thing is wrong.
Yeah.
They're saying in the foyer they got a camera in there, spooky place. Now the foyer is the spooky place, so we'll see about that. Kristen, Brandon Fugel's wife, saw something at the ranch, and Brandon Fugel actually said he saw a UFO at the ranch when that one guy was visiting. Kit Green, is that right?
Yeah, he says he saw it. Yeah, that's when he saw it over the mesa.
Yeah,
He
and
saw
all
it
the phones
flying
and
back
stuff
and forth.
stopped working, and then they have that double arrow symbol, which they say is an old Masonic symbol that means as above, so below.
Like heaven and earth.
Yeah.
So,
Kit
but they do have
Green.
a picture of the UFO during that time that they saw it.
Yeah,
Somehow a
that's
picture was taken next
well, they
over the
were
shoulder of some guy.
they were taking pictures before all the phones went dead and stuff, and this was one that this thing popped up. Yeah, cell phone pictures are a real pain in the butt. They're not the best thing.
Yeah.
40 to 50 grayish saucer. So Brandon Fugel said he saw is it 40 to 50-foot grayish saucer. All the
Yeah.
phones went dead. They found that one photo with it in the background. And Brandon Fugel said that this was a game-changing experience. But one of the things that occurred to me is like what was pointed out before, Brandon Fugel also invested several $1 million into the artificial gravity machine that one guy was trying to put together.
Phony.
Yeah,
that was bad news.
Yeah, the guy's got some beliefs going on. But yeah, part of the we'll come to that. We're running out of time, but we'll come back to this. And but part of that is all the people at the ranch, and maybe even Travis Taylor, all these people have sort of this, they're part of the Mormon religion, and so they're already primed to and willing to accept the supernatural or the unusual. So, hey, let's, what else so your last week's show did really well with your interview with Gary Nolan, who looked just like Corey.
Gary Nolan looks like Corey.
Yeah, Corey. So yeah, I think I was saying you should do interviews where it's like you'll interview somebody as the person. So okay, Corey, if you were Gary Nolan, how would you answer this question?
Well, you're going to be Louis Elizondo next week.
Okay, so as Louis Elizondo, how would I answer? You can ask me a question as Louis Elizondo, and I will try and answer. So I can do that.
It was a
I
very
can do that.
carefully worded, intro in the YouTube, and I didn't realize until I had 101.
Well, hey,
why is it doing that? And then I figured it out. Then you were mentioning, "Oh yeah, that's what it did." Nobody said, "What are you doing?"
Somebody should have put a comment.
They will eventually. They must do.
But yeah, so how's the book? You're still reading the Tempestrial book?
Extraterrestrial, yeah, the identified flying objects. It's wrapping up right now. They're speculating on what people will look like in the future, and there's and I sent you the the numbers on autism. We won't.
Let's talk about autism. I don't believe that, but we can talk about that next time.
I don't believe it, but it's well, it'll only take a second. I don't want to talk about it negatively because that's not. I don't want
autism negatively.
I'm not gonna. Well,
but yeah, we could talk about it. So, what is the advantage?
Simply the numbers
of the autism is increasing. So, what is the advantage that autistic people would bring to humanity?
Well, the thing is, there's several different levels of autism. Obviously, you've got Elon Musk. That's one level.
Yeah.
And then you've got tons of other levels, I think. Not tons, and I haven't looked into it that much, but there is speculation that could possibly be the next. I'm going out there now, and I'm saying speculation. I'm not saying I believe anything necessarily. That could be the next level of evolution. I mean,
yeah, but what is the advantage of that? Is it just the focus and the ability to be creative technically?
Yes, I think that's definitely it. And I just kind of want to bring back to Socorro, where they tore out the side of the ship, and the what the aliens were doing, what their reaction was as they spilled out the side of the damaged ship. What is it that they did? It was almost like they were confused and they were squealing,
Yeah,
and that, you know what I'm saying? I'm kind
just
of
like
like
an autistic
saying
kid.
that might be, I don't want to say
They
it's
were
just
autistic
like it, but
aliens.
it could be where it's headed. I don't know. But I mean, I didn't send you the next thing. It said by 20 that dredged up and everything. You can write anything on anything on because the internet said it. It's true. But
It's true. It's on the
by,
internet.
by,
JFK was
by
killed by the
20,
CIA.
yeah, by 2025, 1 in 2 children will be autistic. That's another
Wow.
thing that
One
came
and
up.
two?
Yeah, there was
One
an
and
article.
two?
One in
Wow.
2 kids will be autistic, and they said
Wow.
it's social, and then they're saying about it's the, the shots that were gonna maybe I don't know if it's going to be COVID. I don't know, but
Oh,
they
they're saying the
sent you
vaccine. Well, you know my ideas on what's causing it.
yeah, yeah, it could be well, right now it's 1 in 44, or
But they're saying it's going to
currently.
go way up. It's
Yeah, it's going to
okay.
be 1 in 2, which is, and I I don't want to say I don't hope it's true. Maybe this is going somewhere. I don't know. Maybe there's a reason for it, beyond their vaccinations being I
Yeah.
think you would probably agree. It could be what we're pumping into people,
I
not
don't
into
think
the
it.
kids, but into the parents.
We
I don't
do.
know.
I do think we over vaccinate our children, and it's just a money game at that point.
Yeah,
I'm not against vaccination. I
yeah,
am for vaccination, but we do over vaccinate our kids.
yeah.
Um,
I'm simply stating the numbers. I don't, it's.
well,
But
yeah.
anyway,
So do you think the advantage
mentioned.
is so everyone's gonna? So you think there'll be definitely an advantage to humanity if we have more people like Elon Musk?
I wish I could remember the scientist that mentioned this. I don't think it was Musk. I can't remember who it is. Mentioned that he had several colleagues, and he's a scientist, and there had
Hmm.
several colleagues that he was sure that they were autistic.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
were they were brilliant minds, brilliant,
I
and
I mean, they measure these things in certain ways. So it's like the way that I look at if a scientist stepped forward and he tells you how much grant money he has, that doesn't mean
yeah,
anything. The question you have
yeah.
to
Well,
ask is what is the contribution that this person has made to the science? So it's like you can look at Albert Einstein. You go, well, yeah, it's obvious we all know what he did.
Well, his point is that they pretty much stayed to themselves in their office, never really socialized with anyone, which could be a lot of scientists.
Yeah.
And but they didn't talk to anyone. They don't know it. Didn't how to know how to socialize with other people.
So like
But they
Alan,
were,
like but I also want to look at what their contribution is. You can also a more modern interpretation would be Alan Turing, and his contributions to computational science and cryptography are huge. You can look at that. So he's made these big things. So there may be more. The analysis needs to be deeper than just that there are more autistic people. It's like, are they providing benefit to society? And can an autistic person that is disconnected from the emotional connection to other people offer a positive benefit? They all might become mad scientists and take over the world like Musk, Elon
you know
Musk.
what what you get when you have a lot of autistic people?
No.
More autistic people.
Yeah. Good job.
So
Hey,
and then if that goes on, if as the Revlon commercial said, I'll tell 2 people, and then I'll tell 2 people. Next thing you know, we got a whole bunch of people.
yeah,
And then that is the next level of evolution. That's the
everybody's
only point I'm trying to make is if this can't be true. I would hope that this was
everybody's
true at
going to be
that point.
sitting huddled
1
in
and
their
2. Yeah,
offices.
in their cubicles just performing tasks,
Yeah. Well,
and
that's sort of like any office environment now. You just sit in your cubicle
yeah,
and perform your
or
tasks.
your house. I
Yeah.
mean, people are
Yeah.
working from home now. They
Yeah.
don't have to socialize. It's really difficult for people to go into the office. I don't want to go in the office anymore. I got
I
to talk to
actually
people. I
I've
want to
actually
socialize.
I've actually seen that, and I've seen I know someone who has actually because of COVID, spent the last few years fairly isolated, and they are having serious anxiety exactly about those type of things. That's actually a big concern. Yeah, yeah. All right, let's.
So I don't want to say, the evolution thing. Who knows? I just want to throw those
Well,
numbers out.
yeah, it's interesting. It's an
It's kind
interesting
of
thing.
interesting.
My take is a little different on that because I think it's more has to do with IVF than an actual evolutionary process. It's more like a technological intervention. Anyway, let's pick it up next week. We'll
Sounds good.
we'll have plenty. We always have something.
There's never a shortage.
Never a shortage. I will try and read more in the Trinity book. Maybe there's something else that'll pop out in the last few chapters.
Cool.
All right.
Thanks for listening to the latest episode of the Alien Probe Podcast. We welcome comments, questions, or requests to alienprobepodcast@gmail.com. Visit us on Facebook. Check out our website, alienprobe.net. You'll be able to see all of our episodes. Twitter @AlienProbePod and also Instagram @AlienProbePod. YouTube, like and subscribe @AlienProbe Podcast. Thanks to our senior producer, Hollywood Robert Anthony, and of course, Dr. Bill. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, global warming. Watch the skies.
Watch the skies.
All right. Bye-bye.